Hi, welcome back to the Saga Not Going Out Club. I hope everybody's keeping well in the current situation. And what I've decided to do today is show you how I create an artisan chocolate for our boxed chocolate range. Now, a lot of our chocolates are sent out as gifts. So when they're opened, I want them to look beautiful. And not only do they need to look like little jewels, they also need to have a really well-balanced flavor between chocolate and filling. Now, there's a couple of steps that you need to think about when creating a chocolate, and the first step is inspiration and flavor. How do I come up with the flavor of my chocolate? I have a crazy friend in Australia that never puts ice in her gin. She always uses frozen fruit. So I put mango in my gin one night, and that's how I've come about making the chocolate that I'm going to show you later. So once you've decided on your flavor, it could be nut, spice, fruit. The next thing that you need to do is what chocolate am I going to use? You're probably wondering what the numbers 1 to 10 are here behind me, and those are a load of different chocolates that we have that we use in our chocolate range. We've got ones that are smoky, we've got ones that are fruity, we have ones that are single origin plantations. It's a bit like wine. There are different chocolates from different regions, have completely different flavors and characteristics. So once we've decided on what chocolate we're going to use, we need to make sure that that marries really well with the filling. If I'm making a mango chocolate, for instance, over here, I don't want something that's too dark and too bitter because I just don't feel that that's going to marry well. I'm going to use a milk chocolate later. So once we've decided on what chocolate we're going to use, we then need to see, are we going to have an enrobed chocolate, a molded chocolate, or a truffle? Now, with a molded chocolate, you can see over here that they're all really nice and uniform. Once we've molded them, you can produce quite a few of them all at once, which is good. You can also have an enrobed chocolate. That's more of a firmer ganache, and we've applied a chocolate transfer to the top of that. We also have chocolate truffles, which is quite a firm mixture as well, and that's what we've got over here. Now, when you're using molded chocolates, you need to make sure, well, when you're making a molded chocolate, the fillings are always a little bit softer, okay? So once we've decided if it's going to be molded and what have you, we then need to decide, do we want any texture in it? What textures and mouthfeel are going to be with the chocolate? If I'm making something nutty, I'd like to have a crunch in there. Maybe a bit of fouilletine, maybe a little bit of biscuit. If I'm doing a mango gin one like I'm doing over here, we've got two textures. We've got a jelly and we've got a ganache. So those two textures are going to marry nicely together. It's all about mouthfeel as well. How does everything eat? So once we've come up with whether we're going to put texture in it, we need to think, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like at the end in my chocolate box? You know, I'm making something with mango, so for me, I want to use something that slightly represents a mango. I'm not going to make my mango chocolate purple or pink. Mango is green and yellow. You know, sometimes the skin on the outside, but the center is yellow. So I'm going to use a nice, bright, vibrant color. So when I look at it, I immediately think mango. And then once I've decided on what the decoration is. Now that is quite a difficult task because we don't know if we're going to spray it, sponge it, you know, there's loads of different techniques that you can use. Once we've decided on what it's going to look like, the best part is putting it in the box and seeing what it looks like with all the other chocolates. So first of all, I'm going to show you how I make my mango gin. Now there's quite a few steps in this process, and every single chocolate that we make at Cocoa Black is all handmade, okay? So we've got loads of different steps over here. I'll talk you through them. First of all, we use professional polycarbonate molds. Now, I've sprinkled a little bit of gold cocoa butter in just to give a little bit of speckly effect on my chocolate, okay? So once that's set, and before you can start flicking in anything, you have to make sure that you wash your molds, polish them with cotton wool, make sure they're not too cold when you use them, and then you can start. So we've flicked with gold cocoa butter. The next step that I want to do is, I've actually got a spray tan machine over here, and I'm going to put my cocoa butter through that, and I'm going to show you how we spray, okay? So the next thing is, I'm going to spray half of my mold yellow, because I don't just want one color, I want a shade of orange and yellow. And it's all about how you hold your mold and the angle of it, and your cocoa butter has to be tempered, okay? When I was, again, judging on the Chocolate Masters, you know, I forget, when I was judging, sorry, on the, with the Hairy Bikers, I forget, you know, that I've done this for so long, and I really learned a lot from the show, because, you know, you've got people that are so inspired and so into their chocolate that they were putting totally random things in their chocolates that I would never think of. Then once we've sprayed with yellow, I'm then going to get a nice bright orange, and I'm going to spray the other half in orange. Now I'm going to show you quickly how the spray gun works, because it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting. I actually have a face mask and everything that I'll put on because I don't want to get too much cocoa butter. I don't want to breathe in too much cocoa butter. But over here I have some white cocoa butter that's been coloured, and I'm going to pour some of it in my little machine, and then just to make sure that the colours are nice and bright, I'm going to spray white behind here. Now some people like to do it, some people don't, but I'm going to, because I want the colour to really, really pop out. If I put brown behind yellow and orange, you're not going to get the bright yellow that I want. Now I'm just going to pop this on. Okay, cocoa butter is going to set, so everything needs to be warm. That's why I've just put a heat gun on to get the cocoa butter coming through. Once it comes through, you can then, I'm going to start over here, give it a little squirt of cocoa butter, of white cocoa butter. And that's just really going to make the colour jump out. Now you can't leave this in your gun, otherwise it's going to set, so I'm just going to take that out quickly. And this is really actually a spray tan machine. I've got a couple of different compressors that I like to use. I don't show my husband anymore because, you know, we've got to hide them from him. Right, the next step, once we've got our chocolate mould ready, we're now ready to mould it. Now, if you have a look over here, you can see I've lined it. I'm going to show you quickly how to line it, and I've put one of the fillings in first, so we've let that sit. Right, so once we've sprayed that, this is the fun bit and the messy bit. We have to again make sure that our chocolate's tempered, okay? And tempered means that you've got your chocolate, you've heated and you've cooled your chocolate and got it to 30 degrees. Otherwise it's not going to come out my mould, okay? So we, I'll just leave that. We have our chocolate over here, and I've chosen a nice 40% milk chocolate, so it's not too sweet and it's not too strong. We're then going to fill each cavity, and you need to be quite quick for this, okay? Because, I'm just going to turn this off so it doesn't make a noise. You need to be quite quick because your chocolate is going to set. So if you're not confident and if you're not, you know, fast, and you know, this all takes practice. I've been making chocolate now for, oh gosh, a couple of years. And make sure you have everything. Right, so we've got our tank, our mould nice and full. I'm going to scrape any excess chocolate off. And if you don't fill your mould right to the top like this, you know, you're not going to get a nice shell. We're just going to pop it on the table and give it a little tap. Pick it up, and then don't be scared, but you're going to lift it and we're going to tip it all out. And we're going to scrape all the excess. And if your chocolate's tempered correctly, you're going to get a nice even layer of chocolate, okay? Like this. If your chocolate mold is too cold, you'll end up with a really, really thick shell, and we don't want a thick shell because we want the shell and the amount of filling in the correct ratio. Once we've done this, it's upside down. okay? The chocolate all falls down nicely. And that allows, us to form a shell like this. We then pick it up, scrape all the excess off, okay? Now inside here, I've got a gin jelly, and I like to use as much local produce as I can. And I can't get more local than the gin that I'm using today, which is from a company called Ruth, and they are actually our neighbours. So I just take my bottle over to get refilled, one for home, one for work. And then once I've made the gel, I make a really thick gel with pectin. I'm not going to use gelatine in my chocolate molds because that will affect the shelf life. And then I blitz it up with some gin. I pipe half of it with my gin jelly, and you can make the jelly as strong or as weak as you like, okay? Let that sit for a little while just to firm. And then I've made a mango ganache. Now the ganache is made with a white chocolate, which is not too sweet, and mango puree. Now mango can sometimes be quite a bland flavour, so I've put in some calamansi lime as well, which is just different from a normal lime, but it adds that tropical flavour to the mango. Now we need to make sure that we get our ganache. It can't be too hot because it'll melt your chocolate, so you need to make sure that it's a perfect temperature, around 28, 29 degrees, okay? Then once we've done that, we're going to fill each one of our chocolates. All right, then I leave that to sit for a little while, probably a couple of hours, because the ganache needs to settle. If I pick my chocolate mold up like this and have a look at it and I can see any yellow at the top, that means I've overfilled my mold. I don't want that, because when I scrape the excess chocolate off and I cap it off, what's going to happen is that ganache is going to go into my chocolate. So now we've got to the stage where my ganache is crystallized. I normally do this and leave it overnight and then come in and close it off. But then what I need to do is I just need to take my heat gun quickly and just slightly heat this chocolate up, because once my chocolate is crystallized, it's not going to stick properly to the back of this, okay? And you'll always know if you haven't heated up your mold, because your chocolates will start to crack, okay? Then I'm going to get a little bit more chocolate. I like to use a little scraper. And this is called capping off or backing off, okay? Now there's lots of different ways to do it, and I know I probably just want to get some of these bubbles out. I know I probably make it look easy because I have been doing it for a few years. Okay, I'm just going to give it a little tap. And then I turn it around. I hate mess, so I just do it in 2 bits. It's okay. And you don't want any chocolate left in here. Right, once you've just tapped it, you can see that the air bubbles come to the top, and I actually do a second coat over it just to make sure that it looks nice and neat and all the air bubbles have gone. Sometimes you find that the chocolate contracts a bit. Once we've done that, we need to, I don't normally put them in the fridge, I just leave them in a cool space. That's one advantage of living in Scotland as opposed to Australia, is that it doesn't often get above 20 degrees. Once we've turned out our mango gin, the best thing is having a look at our chocolate box when everything is finished. And for me, that makes me really happy. And that is 30+ years of chocolate making.